Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fireside Casts. My name is the Bulldozer, and for the next 10 or 12 weeks, I'm going to be your guide through the Smogon Premier League ADV OU tier. Got some really exciting games for you tonight, and some really exciting games for you over the course of the next few weeks as we sort of explore the 10 players that are going to be making up the cast of our exciting stuff going forward. So if we could get the players coming up right here on my left, you're going to see a list of all 10 of them. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Smogon Premier League format, you have 10 teams, and each of them goes through an auction. They're going to pick players. They're going to bid on different players, and those different players they bid on are going to be assigned 2 tiers that they're then going to battle it out, as you see here. Forgetting which side I'm on. So with 10 players, you have 5 matches a week across 8 tiers, 3 tiers in Gen 8. And more or less, whichever team that faces each other has more wins at the end of the week, they're the winner for that week. And then you do the records going forward, rank them in according to how they've done, go to playoffs, and it proceeds about how you would expect a tournament to go. So looking at the players, nothing's really happened too much yet. We haven't looked at any of these matches. I haven't looked at any matches that happened this week because I'm going to look at them with you guys. So if we can get our 5 matchups here going next, you're going to see that our first match of the night is going to be Cyber Odin versus McMegan. And what I want to do, because I understand that not everybody in our stream is necessarily familiar with ADV OU, this very first match, I'm going to take it kind of slow. Going to be very explanatory with what's happening. Maybe be a little more, free with how I talk. Go a little slower and just make sure that it's a little more obvious what's happening on screen, because a lot of stuff that might get taken for granted in a typical cast, a lot of people might not understand. You might not know that the fact that this is happening is obvious and it's just the normal play to make. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get right into our first game here with Cyber Odin versus McMegan. Cyber Odin, actually one of the first players that I ever casted in ADV OU in Callus Invitational for about 6-7 months ago. And it was his game versus Starmaster, who we'll get to later. And McMegan, one of the all-time greats of Pokemon, fantastic player, has a great YouTube channel, recommend you check it out. And so going right into this, there's 3 important things that I want spectators who are unfamiliar with this tier to kind of remember, because if you're more familiar with the newer gens of Pokemon and you haven't necessarily spent a lot of time learning the intricacies of the first 4 or 5 gens, then this stuff may be unfamiliar to you. So first of all, you're going to see, if you look at the 6 Pokemon on each side, is that Team Preview does not exist in these gens. So you're going to have a set lead, and each new Pokemon that you reveal is going to be a slew of new information for your opponent. And, you kind of have to feel and understand trends in the metagame that allow you to figure out what might be waiting in the back and either play around that or just figure you'll deal with it when that time comes. Second of all, is there's no physical or special split in this game. So your physical types are going to be different from your special types. Your special types are going to be water, grass, fire, ice, dragon, dark, and I think 2 other I'm forgetting. But, that's kind of how it works, and it really changes the entire way that different Pokemon work, because, you take Skarmory, for example, who still a pretty strong Pokemon in the modern day and in previous gens up until now. However, in Gen 3, Gen 2, those 2 gens, Fire and Electric were the only 2 types that were really effective against it. So with that in mind, that's all physical types that barely affect a physically defensive Pokemon. So you're going to see a lot of stuff that kind of works in that way and isn't too affected by, the way that it kind of shakes out. Finally, one more big change that you're going to see a lot in this, you're going to see a lot in Gen 2 games as well, if you ever watch them, is that Explosion in this gen halves the opponent's defense when it's used. So that just makes it an absolute nuke, as opposed to, still being a 250 damage base power normal move, is going to do a lot of damage. But when you have someone's defense, it kind of becomes a panic button. And I guarantee you we're going to see that at some point in these 5 games. So with all that in mind, we're going to go into this first game with Cyber Odin and McMegan. Cyber from the Raiders versus McMegan from the Evergrande Bigs. So I'm going to put it on really slow to start out. And the lead is extremely important. You know, it can tell you a lot about the team that's being brought, as we have here McMegan bringing a Tyranitar, and Cyber is going to have a Zapdos. Now, lead Zapdos versus Tyranitar is basically the handshake of ADV. It's the two most popular leads in the tier, and you know, getting familiar with how you want to approach this is one of the hallmarks of how you want to play an ADV game. So the theory is that a Thunderbolt from a Zapdos is going to do, you know, 40% or so to a Tyranitar, which, for what it's worth, I want to bring up, this is an important thing that we as a spectator do not have. Both of these players know exactly what their set is, but I don't, and presumably you don't. So if Zapdos uses a Thunderbolt, and let's say it only does 35%, we don't know if that's a bulky T-Tar, we don't know if it's a weak Zapdos, we don't know if it's both, but both of these players know exactly what they have. So there is a certain amount of information that we don't get when we have this, and we're able to figure other things out from that, but you know, we're going to want to see what Cyber Odin does here, because he really doesn't want to stay in if he can help it, because presumably this is a Tyranitar with Rock Slide. Let's just go into the next turn here. Sandstorm already up, by the way. Zapdos is going to Baton Pass right out, which can already give McMegan, excuse me, don't want to mess with the scroll there. I hit my space bar. Already telling McMegan a fair bit about the team that Cyber could have, and he's going to go straight out into a Metagross. And McMegan, this is what I said before. You know that your Zapdos doesn't want to stay in. And McMegan just said, well, I know you're not going to stay in. You don't want to take this Rock Slide, so we just won't even worry about it. You know, we're going to start off with an Earthquake. We're going to do damage to whatever else wants to come in. And for what it's worth, Cyber could have gone out to something that doesn't mind taking a Rock Slide that also levitates. But not a huge concern right now. We're just going to see how Cyber wants to approach this Tyranitar with the Metagross that he's brought out. Oops. So McMegan is going to go out to Fortress. I was about to say Tyranitar not wanting to stay in versus Metagross, because that, whatever set this is, we do not see any sort of leftovers from the Metagross. So very real chance that it is Choice Banded, which would, you know, basically dunk on that Tyranitar immediately. Fortress, not going to mind so much about it. So it's going to come in, and it's going to immediately give a threat of Spikes. Spikes being a hazard that are extremely potent in this gym. We're going to see how Cyber wants to respond to it. He's going to throw out that Meteor Mash. And we actually do get an attack raise on the Metagross from the Meteor Mash, 10% chance, and an Earthquake is going to be revealed, which suggests that, first of all, I don't know exactly what the item is going to be off the top of my head, but it says that the Metagross isn't Choice Banded, and so it kind of raises the question of what are we dealing with? You know, he's still at 43%. There's a non-zero chance it could be like a Pinch Berry. There's a non-zero chance it could be a Lum, something like that. But the Fortress doesn't really mind it too much. It's going to be able to get up a couple layers of spikes before it's really forced out to do anything. So how is Cyber going to respond to that? He's going to keep hitting those Meteor Mashes. It's pretty relevant damage. The next one, especially with the threat of attack raise, is going to take down that Fortress. However, the Fortress, being the slightly offensive threat that it is, going to throw out an Earthquake, really something intended to be hitting a Magneton. Not in this scenario, but it's going to weaken that Metagross a lot. We don't see any Pinch Berry. I still don't know what exactly item it has, but we are going to see the Fortress go down immediately. Lead is going to go to Cyber 6-5. So now we have McMegan's own Zapdos coming out. And that's going to, you know, obviously immediately, 100 base speed, going to immediately threaten out this Metagross. We're going to see how Cyber wants to go about addressing that. So Cyber just sacks the Metagross, decides there's not really a whole lot that he can really do. Probably clicked Explosion on his way out, just in case, you know, McMegan tried to get cute. And he's going to follow this up with his own Zapdos. Still hasn't revealed much else. 3 Mons not revealed for McMegan, 4 Mons not revealed for Cyber. And Zapdos on Zapdos isn't really a problem for either of them. They're probably not going to have too much of a problem just clicking, you know, either T-Bolt or Thunder Wave or trying to get some sort of advantage in this. So McMegan going to take the initiative and swap out to his T-Tar. Not going to worry too much about taking that. 40%, like I mentioned earlier. It's important to be familiar with the calcs in this game. And now Cyber, we're kind of back in that lead scenario. Cyber doesn't want to stay in too badly, but the question is, after that first attack, does McMegan want to click Earthquake again, or does he chance and click Rock Slide this time? So we are going to see the Skarmory coming out. Another Spiker on the field is going to be able to, first of all, that's a lot of damage. Oh my god, that's a lot of damage from a Rock Slide. So Cyber should be able to start spiking up. I think he wants to spike up here and not click Protect. And we do see the Focus Punch coming out of McMegan, and that is going to bop this Skarmory. It's not going to take it down, but it's going to put it in immediate threat range of the next Rock Slide. And yeah, so bringing the Skarmory down to 25%, it's going to get another 6% from leftovers. It's going to get another 6% from the Protect that is clicking next turn, unless this is some sort of non-Protect Skarmory. And it very well might be, as Cyberodon is chancing it. He's putting down another layer, and he's just going to let his Skarmory go down in exchange for 2 layers. Now, I want to say real quick, 2 layers is not considered the most optimal number of spikes, because when you're getting up layers of spikes, the first layer is going to be 12%. The second layer is, I want to say 16 or 18, but the third layer gets you up to 24%, and that's the big number. That's when suddenly everything starts becoming in damage ranges. It starts coming into, real threats of sand wearing it down. So you want to try and get 3 layers up if you can help it, but Cyberodon, I guess he didn't have Protect on his Skarm. It could have been some sort of YOLO Skarm, but if he had, he probably would have been able to get another. So moving forward from this, we're going to have Cyberodon going down 4 to 5. McMegan currently with the... Oh, okay. So McMegan currently with the lead. However, Dugtrio comes in, and T-Tar's kind of in the magic zone, because assuming that this is a Jolly Dugtrio, the average T-Tar set, you typically want to have it around 80-85%, because that's how much the Earthquake is going to do. People have, been EVing their T-Tars to live in Earthquake, and, this is another scenario where we don't know exactly what this Dugtrio is, but Cyberodon should have a pretty good idea of what the spread is based on what damage has been done to it. So, with that in mind, I assume he's confident that this Dugtrio will kill with the Earthquake. So Dugtrio is going to click Earthquake here, and 84 it can be kind of close. However, Tyranitar goes down back to a 4v4 game. However, just about every Dugtrio ever is Choice Banded, which means that Cyberodon suddenly has to switch out this Dugtrio, because Zapdos could presumably click some sort of HP Ice, HP Water, HP Grass. So we're going to see how he wants to approach it. There's really nothing wrong with going back to Zapdos here. You might get chunked a bit by a Thunderbolt. You might get paralyzed by a Thunder Wave. That would not be ideal. However, Cyberodon just decides to stay in because he thinks that there could be a Baton Pass coming, or that McMegan, in this scenario, is trying to take his free Thunderbolt on whatever he's swapping to. So I don't know if he thinks that the Zapdos doesn't have any other moves, or if he's just sacking his Dugtrio because he doesn't think it's useful anymore. But this may be a Zapdos that can't really hurt the Dugtrio much, because it looks like they're just going to sort of stall this out a little bit. That's interesting. All right, so Zapdos is finally going to reveal a hidden power. We don't really know what kind it is. We know it's, obviously one of the aforementioned types. Did I just go back a turn? Oh, it lived at 1%. I didn't even notice that. Oh my gosh. I just assumed that it died. That's crunchy. So now we're back in this scenario. Cyberodon doesn't really want to take his Dugtrio out, because if he brings it back in on the spike, then it's immediately dead. But McMegan's just kind of burning Thunderbolts here, which could become something in the long run. 19 is still a big number to really think too hard about. Cyberodon back into Zapdos. There's got to be some sort of electric immunity in the back from McMegan, and I assume that he wants to reveal that here. That is going to be a Claydol, and that is going to get an opportunity to Rapid Spin. Going to blank on the Thunderbolt. So this brings the question of, is there some sort of spin blocker in the back for Cyberodon? It doesn't look like it. He's going to throw out a hidden power of his own, take a good 40% off the Claydol, but he's not going to be able to stop the Rapid Spin. So all those spikes are gone, and with the Skarmory down, there's no more spikes coming up. So now we're going to see a Jirachi from McMegan. And Jirachi is really important because it's an extremely versatile Pokemon. Any of these base 100s across the board, not pseudo-legendaries, legendaries that you see, Jirachi, Celebi, you see ones in later gens like Victini, Mew, you know, they really have an extreme level of customizability to them. You can run just about whatever you want, but, you know, you have some pretty common sets. This could be sub 2 attacks. It could be Super Celebi, just Calm Mind 3 attacks, or Super Jirachi, excuse me. It could be an Ass Jirachi with Body Slam, Fire Punch, and Wish Protect. I don't think that it's going to be Wish, because if it were Wish, he might have been using it earlier. I feel like he might have gotten it out onto the table a bit earlier. But we'll see what's going forward with this. So Cyberodon is going to reveal a T-Tar off the Baton Pass, and immediately reveal the Aerodactyl, presumably on the Earthquake that Cyberodon would be expected to use. But he went for the big dick play. Okay, hold on. Okay, wow. So I was about to say, Cyberodon predicted the switch out. He clicked Dragon Dance, which would immediately put his Tyranitar in a pretty advantageous position. But I assume that that's HP fighting on that Aerodactyl, which is a little uncommon and a really cool move to bring. And that's going to immediately drop that Tyranitar, and suddenly things are looking a little bleak for Cyberodon. You know, I'm not going to say that whatever this last is, it's not as if there aren't things that it could, you know, have taken out, or it's not something that could sort of clean up the rest of this game, but it's a pretty tall ask. That being said, assuming this Aerodactyl is banded, the hidden power fighting means that Zapdos is going to be able to come in for free, and it's going to be able to throw off a Thunderbolt pretty much without too much of a fight. That being said, he could just as easily start throwing out hidden powers of his own, because the Aerodactyl can't hurt it. The only thing that really that wants to come into Thunderbolt is Claydol, and that doesn't want to take the hidden power. And we get into one of these interesting complexities of ADV. So let's see what's going on here. Oh, never mind. We have a Suicune. That could maybe do it if he gets a couple Calm Minds up quick, but you have to imagine if Megan goes straight out to Zapdos, this Thunderbolt is going to be a real threat. We're going to want to see how much it does regardless. But he's kind of got to go for game here, because Zapdos will not necessarily get the job done. 51% is a tall ask. He's got to get the freeze here, and he does not. And it looks like McMegan's probably going to take this without too much of a fanfare. Relatively well-played game on his part. And Zapdos isn't going to want to take that either. He is... The only thing I can think is that it's maybe Rain Dance Zapdos that he's trying to... No, he's just trying to knock out... He was confident that he could outspeed. And with that in mind, it's still, you know, you got to imagine Double Edge or Rock Slide is going to just take this out. Yeah, and Double Edge from the Aerodactyl is going to clean this up, as it has done so many times before. And with that, it looks like McMegan's going to win 3-0 in this first game of our SPL coverage. All right. So, good first game. Congrats to McMegan. You know, be sure to go check out his YouTube channel. And, you know, with that in mind, I guess we got to go straight into the second game, which is going to be Fakes versus Gilbert Arenas, who I didn't know who Gilbert Arenas was at first. I didn't really recognize the name, and then somebody pointed out to me that it was actually Markop, which is much more recognizable. And, you know, both of these players, real vets, they've been around for a while. They've shown their stuff to be very capable in the past, and, you know, this should be a pretty good game, seeing how it goes. So we're going to get started here immediately. Let's set it to slow. We have the T-Tar named Tomahome versus the T-Tar named Eviction Notice. And T-Tar versus T-Tar is another very, very common lead. And I just want to say immediately that Milotic, very difficult to break in ADVOU. So, you know, you got to hope that Fakes has a way that can comfortably deal with it, because you don't want to just be fishing for Earthquake crits or something like that. So Milotic is going to start recovering up, and Fakes kind of needs to introduce some way to deal with it. And what we're kind of looking at now is this is kind of the neutral game of Pokemon. You know, you have, say, if you're spamming choke in an arena shooter, or if you're, you know, throwing out a low forward into Fireball in a fighting game, or if you're building up your barracks and scouting with a Reaper in StarCraft, you're trying. Both players have a game state that they want their game to be, that they think is in favor of them, and this is sort of the state where they're arguing over trying to make some sort of compromise. So with that in mind, they're both trying to set up hazards. They're both trying to control the other hazards, and you know what they're able to get out of it in the end, as they both try and stop the other person, is going to be where things end up. So Markov is going to go straight into his Fortress. So we got two Spikers on the field. Fortress does carry a threat of using... All right, hold on. Fortress does carry a threat of using Rapid Spin, which is going to immediately do spikes. Fakes, I have to imagine, is fishing for... He's scouting for the Magneton, which, you know, is a very real possibility after a Milotic and a T-Tar, as he doesn't want his Skarmory taken out. But it didn't really work out. Markov just saw this as an opportunity to get up spikes, but you know, when you see Tyranitar and Skarmory, Markov probably had a pretty good idea that it was a you know, some sort of Skarmory team, probably a TSS team in total, and you have to imagine the Markov's going to be able to get spikes up pretty freely. So rather than both players have decided against going for spikes, and they decided to keep up the pressure on their side. So Markov really has an opportunity to, as I was about to say, throw out this Focus Punch, and it's going to do a pretty good amount of damage. This is a Leftovers T-Tar, and that only did 32%. That's a very fat Skarmory. Oh, that would explain why. It's a mixed T-Tar. And Skarmory is suddenly in trouble, going to be able to get back up to 19% after Protect. And get one layer up, but that's probably all we're going to get out of the Skarmory. Oh, no, Skarmory went for Roar there. That's interesting. So we're now in the situation that I mentioned earlier, where, you know, this is a little bit of a gray area for Dugtrio. It's probably going to take out Tyranitar, but there's a real chance that it doesn't. That being said, Fakes knows exactly what his set is, and he has probably a pretty good idea of the EVs on Markov's Tyranitar. So with that in mind, he's probably confident that he can get the KO here. There you go. So now we're going to go up 5-5, both of them. And with that Dugtrio locked into Earthquake, we're going to see Markov's Claydol come in. Try and get off that Rapid Spin. However, and I just want to say, you know, this archetype we're seeing here, very common. It's very likely that this, you know, last Pokemon that's unrevealed is a bulky water of some sort, where this is looking like a pretty basic bulky team. Very real possibility of a Magneton that, you know, I'm going to say that Fakes was definitely right to scout for. I don't know exactly what the last Mon could be from Markov. So going forward, Fakes is going to spin block. He's going to keep things off. Oh, it's just a Starmie. But we're still looking at sort of a TSS team. But, yeah, that Blissey's really not doing a whole lot at the moment. Claydol is going to get off its spin. It's going to eat 85% for it. And, you know, Markov really wanted... I guess I get it. You don't really need the Claydol for a whole lot now that the Skarmory's gone. So we're going to see a Celebi revealed for Markov, and that's going to honestly be kind of a threat. There's not a lot that Fakes can do to deal with it, except for this T-Tar, which I would assume has HP Bug. But Markov is going to keep things on the front foot, and he's going to swap back to Fortress before Celebi can really even do anything. So smart play by him, and he's going to get a chance to set up some spikes here. Is that a Roar? Oh no, it was... I switched it to slow, and everything's going so slow I completely thought the turn had passed. So this is a counter Fortress. Very interesting stuff out of Markov. But it's... He had the right play, but because Rock Slide missed, you gotta love the hacks, man. Fakes is gonna go right into his Gengar now, whereas one Spike is gonna go up for for fakes, and that's going to be really important for taking down both the Starmie and for the Tyranitar. If he's able to get a couple more layers up, I would assume that this Gengar has Fire Punch, but if he's able to get a couple more layers up, then suddenly the Blissey becomes kind of afraid too. But I have to imagine it's like a bold Starmie, because it really has to serve sort of a defensive water spot, kind of like this Milotic is doing. Milotic's going to take a burn, however, due to the ability Marvel Scale, or Marvel with a V, its defense is, I want to say 1.5, and it was already a Pokemon that was very difficult to take out. So Celebi's going to come in on the Thunderbolt. It's not going to mind it too much, as Celebi very bulky, and we don't really have an idea of what set this Celebi is. There's a whole lot that it could be. I mean, you can make guesses based on the rest of the team, but at the moment, it's a real threat. 27 from an Ice Punch is really not very much. So, especially defensive, gonna have Recover. You could expect possibly Leech Seed, possibly Grass Move, but it's not gonna care about this Gengar, and the Gengar is gonna want to switch out sooner rather than later. So Fakes is going to go right back into his T-Tar, and you got to think that this T-Tar is HP Bug, because it's certainly what he's leaning towards. It's what he's hinting at. He's saying that this T-Tar is how I deal with Celebi, but Celebi's not too, if he comes in on the wrong move, then it's suddenly not as scary as you would think. So T-Tar continuing to pretend it has HP Bug. Celebi going to get the free Baton Pass out into Milotic, which the burn I mentioned earlier, Marvel Scale, means it's not going to take a whole lot from this. I'd be surprised if it took more than, 40%? Yeah. So it's going to be able to continue healing those off. Granted, burn is going to cancel out the leftovers. Okay, there's so much health being traded back and forth right now. Milotic is entirely losing only 2% per turn. It's going to get a free Recover off, just to scout for what the Tyranitar is going to do. And Gengar comes back in, and he's going to get the chance to kind of click whatever move he wants here. And you have to imagine that the Celebi is what you go into. Because there's, we saw what the damage was like before. There's not a whole lot that... Oh, he's going to go into the Claydol here in anticipation of the Thunderbolt. I'm just... So Claydol's going to go down. Great play by Fakes, understanding that he wasn't going to stand on Milotic, and that the things that he has that could come in comfortably are weak to Ice Punch. So Celebi going to get in cleanly now, going to be able to start doing things like clicking Leech Seed, Baton Passing out if it wants to, and we still need to know what this last Pokemon is. It's kind of a question mark. I still think that there's, it can't be a Magnet. If it is a Magneton, then Markov is screwed, but I'm not sure what else it could be. Milo Doll team with Baton Pass, Celebi, and Fortress. I guess we will find out. But Tyranitar started to get very low. Going to Focus Punch into this move as Celebi does what? Does it reveal a Grass move? It reveals the HP Grass, which is going to kill. And is going to put Fakes into a situation where he kind of needs his Blissey to start doing things. And I'm wondering what his set is if he's so uncomfortable with it coming in that he's not using it. I understand it's not really threatening the Milotic and the Celebi, but it's going to be able to take these a little more comfortably, whereas this Gengar does not really have the power to punch through these Pokemon. So Leech Seed comes down. If we still... we have seen all 4 moves. That's a very basic Celebi set. It's doing its job fantastically. And you're not going to see... Yeah, this is looking really good for Markov. He still has an unrevealed Pokemon. It's going to be a little clunky for him to break that Blissey, but that Blissey's not exactly doing a whole lot either. But as long as the Celebi has Leech Seeds left and Blissey has to come in, see, this is what I'm talking about, 10%. Those Leech Seeds are going to be sapping an ungodly amount off of that Blissey. So I guess what you want to do here would just be go back to Fortress and start getting more spikes up. Sorry about the huge message bar here. I'm still trying to get that worked out. I'm really happy with what we've done with this style and opening up the game to let the spectator breathe a little bit more. But that's something I'm still trying to get to work in a way that, looks good. So the question becomes, how is this? We're in for a long game, aren't we? Oh my God. I'm not sure what Markov's goal is with trying to punch through this Blissey. So Fakes is going to take his opportunity to try and get a spin off, which, you know, we're still here. The Fortress still isn't getting threatened much. We don't know what the last move is for Gengar. I have to imagine it could be Taunt, could be Giga Drain, something of that sort. But it's obviously not threatening Fortress, who's going to be able to spike up for free, or he's going to be able to click attacks on this Starmie too. It's got moves that Starmie doesn't want to take. So with that in mind, Face needs to kind of start finding a way to apply a bit more pressure. Does Gengar have the Fire Punch? This is really what it comes down to. There's a very real chance that it has Explosion too. We're going to see the Hidden Power Bug come out. That has to be Bug. Because the only two types of Hidden Power that Fortress really runs are Bug and Ghost, and if it were Ghost, we would know. So Will-O-Wisp is going to come down, and that is going to start wearing this Fortress down ever so slowly. The leftovers aren't going to be really gained anymore. However, we are going to get 2 layers up, and we know that the Fortress can sort of threaten the Starmie if it comes in, which, you know, Starmie's still going to be able to get that spin off, but it's not going to get to do it for free. And it looks like this Gengar is going to have to try and take down the Fortress honest. It's going to be thrown out of Thunderbolt. It just doesn't have a move that can really do it. That last move could be Explosion, and he's just waiting to blow. And he really has to play it smart on when he does it, because this is really... Okay, so here's the situation. This is kind of the situation we're in. Is at 76%. That is in a range that an HP Bug from Dugtrio would be able to take down Celebi, but he's not just getting his Dugtrio in for free. That's not going to happen. It's absurd. So he needs to... If the last move here is Explosion, which still seems like kind of an outside chance, but if it isn't, then he's hiding it so that it looks like it is. Explosion is kind of his way of trying to take out this Milotic. In Gen 3, the way that turns work is that if a Pokemon goes down, the turn is over. That's it. You're done. You don't get to take your turn if the other Pokemon goes down first. Now, a burned Milotic is still... It's going to take a good chunk, but it's not going to go down. Oh my gosh. Burning down Milotic could really have screwed over Fakes here, because he can't really break it. If the Starmie has Thunderbolt, it could maybe using both Explosion and Thunderbolt could get the job done. It becomes really sketchy. So that's kind of an explanation of the situation that Fakes is in here. And, you know, Markov can kind of take the game at his own pace. He can try and get a 3rd layer up and then just wait for, you know, his Fortress to go down. He has to also be real comfortable whenever his last is. So the next Thunderbolt is going to take down the Fortress for what it's worth. And he is just going to sack that. This Gengar is also kind of hard for Markov to break. This is such an awkward game. Okay, well, an Aerodactyl is certainly going to force the issue. Oh my god. Okay, hold on. Never mind. I was right about him being confident in this, because this gets to click Rock Slide for the rest of the game. There's 1 kill for Aerodactyl, and this is what? Aerodactyl's... Of the 2 games we've watched, this is Aerodactyl's 3rd KO. Blissey's going to go down to 53%. That's what I'm talking about with the spikes. That huge damage that I think Blissey might still live a Rock Slide. I want to say, I might be thinking with a double edge calc, but this is still a little bit close. Yeah. Around 45%. It's going to get a chance to... Oh, I was going to say it gets a chance to soft boil it off, but Blissey's going to go over the Thunder Wave, going to bring that Aerodactyl much slower, which is then... There you go. Sandstorm's going to take it down, and the Dugtrio now gets the chance to come in and Rock Slide. It's still super unfavorable. He actually elects to go Starmie, because that is going to get a chance to get rid of the spikes after the fact. This is a really interesting endgame. I was not expecting that to be Aerodactyl. I was not expecting the Blissey to Thunder Wave and then die. So Celebi still kind of walls these things, but what Markop wants to do ideally is to be able to take out. Okay, does this Starmie ever cover? It might. It might. Markop wants to have Leech Seed on the Starmie, and then he wants to baton pass out, or he just goes for the, yeah, okay, that works. I was thinking of some really clever stuff he could do with, you want to Leech Seed and then baton pass the turn that he goes down, but, maybe that's why I'm not an SPL. So now Dugtrio is in a catch-22 where he can't both knock out the Celebi and also threaten the Milotic, because Earthquake isn't going to kill. He has to use HP Bug. HP Bug's going to do 5% to Milotic. Easy. It's not going to do more than that. So he's got to go for Rock Slide flinches, which is kind of an awkward position to be in. And that's going to be the end of game 2, and that's going to be Markov taking it, 1-0. That was a really cool second game. I liked that a lot. That was great. Oh, man, I'm not keeping an eye on when we go back to my camp. You guys have to see me touching my face and all that. So, I'm going to go to our third game now, which is going to be Umbri versus HClat. And Umbri she's like the only player that I didn't really know going into this. Whereas HClat, I know a bit about him. He's a really cool team builder. He has some interesting stuff going on. And, I thought some of the stuff he's done in the past with teams was really cool. Umbri, I really don't know anything about her. But she's here, and I trust Triangles. I think that he's, he knows what he's doing. So if he picked her, then presumably, she should be here. So we're going to go into that game now, and we're going to see what these two players have in store for us. So, okay, hold on. This is almost a call-out from HClat. Because Breloom is the hardest Tyranitar counter in the game, give or take. And he's immediately going to threaten another Tyranitar, and he's immediately going to get off a Spore. And this is, wow. Great lead from HClat. Great team choice. Going to go for the Sky Uppercut instead. He knows that the Skarmory doesn't, so he's not going to get the Spore off. Skarmory's going to be asleep. No chance of spikes. And, HClat really has the initiative to do whatever he wants. I'm on normal speed. I was wondering why it was going so fast. And there's a Milotic for Umbri. And now it kind of, we're back to this idea of how do you break the Milotic? How do you break the Milotic? It's not easy. It's not something you can do, haphazardly. And an offensive Starmie could, really start threatening this Milotic. But, okay. Hydro Pump wouldn't have done much anyway, but a miss is still awkward and unfortunate. But these two players are just trying to feel themselves out at the moment. Figure out what's going on. A Thunderbolt is going to do 40%. He's going to need a full para so that he can sort of get the initiative on this Milotic. But a Toxic is really going to exacerbate the situation that HClat is in, where he doesn't really have a great way to break this Milotic. Not too much of a concern on the Starmie because, Natural Cure is going to worry about that. And now HClat brings back in his Breloom, and he must be confident in this thing if he's bringing it straight in on the Milotic. Maybe a Focus Punch is expected to. Oh, no, he's just getting the Starmie back in. And Starmie is going to have the initiative over the Claydol, going to be able to throw out a Hydro Pump. And Umbri really needs to try and react to that. Going back to Milotic would not be a big deal. We do have a Blissey instead. So we have a really bulky Stolly team here. And HClat, this team he's got is really, there's no way to try it. Skarmory's dead. That's what's important. For all intents and purposes, Skarmory's not in this game anymore. And he's just going to be a sack later on when something's, coming in to threaten. But the lack of real special offensive threats on the side of HClat, you have your Starmie, but that's still a little clunky because you want to save that for the Milotic. Now, granted, an explosion from a Metagross could also take down the Milotic, but that's way more in the future. Important thing is Metagross is out, Blissey is out, and Blissey doesn't want to be out of Metagross. So I would not be shocked if we saw the Skarmory come in here because it is as good as dead. And HClat is still just trying to... Okay, Well, I was not expecting a Jirachi to be that last one, but it's certainly going to be comfortable against this Starmie. You see H-Clack constantly trying to get this Starmie in so that he can try and get the initiative on either the Skarmory or the Milotic, but neither are coming in. And Umbreon is going to get a lucky para off of that Thunder. I want to say Thunder has 30% para chance, plus Serene Grace 60% para chance in this third gen, but that's immediately going to, it's not great for H-Clack's still a very healthy team across the board. Nothing's really taken too much, but your Boomer, you want it to be kind of comfortable in a position where it can boom if need be, and that's not really the case anymore. So this Jirachi is suddenly going to pose a real threat, depending on what the set is. So it's going to have Wish, probably going to have Protect, Thunder, and then, what? Fire Punch? He's opting for Thunder over Body Slam or something? Oh. That's really interesting. H-Clack going to get a pretty unlucky miss on the sleeping Skarmory, but now Skarmory is going to have a real chance to try and wake up here and possibly set up some spikes, which, for what it's worth, H-Clack really doesn't want spikes down. And I assume that's why he keeps bringing the Starmie in. Starmie's going to be able to try and keep that out. Going to continue threatening out the Skarmory, but the Blissey is going to be able to come in all day. So while I appreciate the initiative the H-Clad is taking, trying to get the Starmie in on things, I think he maybe wants to try and take the Starmie out on more things too. Thunderbolt going to come out for Blissey. Really interesting choice. I want to see what other moves it has to go along with that. But, Umbreon can just keep bringing in this Skarmory. Is this a mixed T-Tar? Yeah. We're going to have a Fire Blast. So it seems like there's more threatening that Skarmory than I originally thought, which, is on me. And seems like a game that's also going to be going on for a while. So they're going to be kind of going through these motions for a little while, and you kind of want to take a second to figure out what do these respective players need to do to try and get the leg up. And part of it's going to come down to whatever this last one is. I don't really know what this last Pokemon could be from H-Clad. The absence of a Magneton really makes it difficult to tell. But, Umbreon is able to bring in this Skarmory forever on the Metagross. And the usage of the offensive mixed T-Tar is pretty smart, and it's going to keep Skarmory on the back foot. It's not going to let it burn any sleep turns. But this is clunky. How much longer can this go on for? Recover has 32 PP in this gen, which means that games like this can really start dragging on. Granted, we are on turn 26. I don't want to start saying that this is one thing or another when we really haven't had a chance to let things develop. But sooner or later, these players may be going to get a little impatient, and you're going to see one of them try and make a play to take the advantage, like that one. Oh my god. So, Bolt Beam Blissey. There's a chance the last move could be, it could be Seismic Toss, it could be Calm Mind, but the fact that there's Bolt Beam already opens up a lot of possibilities. And the Breland going down is really going to kind of exacerbate that as Skarmory wakes up, and he is going to get a layer down. And that is going to start applying pressure to H-Clad's team with how much they've been switching around. Because imagine if all those switches had one layer down, that would be 40% off of every Pokemon. Important Burn going to go down on the Milotic. Not super important because he's been trying to take out the Milotic with the Starmie anyway. And we are going to see a Refresh go down. So suddenly, with that special drop, Milotic's not going to be so great of a wall anymore. And you may see Umbreon forced to switch out this Milotic. And does H-Cloud want to try and take advantage of that or not? Because these special defenses are going to start stacking up. Milotic is going to throw to recover. And H-Cloud's going to take advantage of that by swapping in the Starmie. And, he has an opportunity to try and make an attack. But, what I said earlier, he's really taking the initiative on when to bring his Starmie in, and needs to kind of get the jump on when he takes his Starmie out, as we've just seen here. Because I assume in the next turn we're going to see the Blissey come in, as it's come in so many other times. You know, HClat sort of conditioning Umbry to do one thing or another, and we're now going to have the Metagross, you know, sort of come in, and he has an opportunity to really do whatever he wants. Skarmory's still going to be able to come in without too much of a concern, but if, you know, if there's a explosion thrown out or something, oh, you hate to see that. We may never know what that was thrown out now, because so Umbry's just really taking her time. She really has all the luxury in the world at the moment with this Metagross paralyzed. He can't really do a whole lot, and we know that he needs to bring in. We know that HClat needs to bring in Starmie every time, and this is things are going to start picking up a bit more now. I even want to say that Skarmory has an opportunity to get down to second layer. Yeah. And, you know, the longer this goes on, oh, and that's another killer para for HClat. The longer this goes on, the more it's really going to start favoring Umbry, because this exact thing gets to happen. They get to keep roaring stuff around. And, you know, Starmie can keep recovering, but it's not going to be able to go on forever, because there's other Mons on this team that are going to start getting worn down. You're going to see the Tyrannosaurus start taking damage. You can see the Metagross start taking damage. And it's just not so free anymore. So there's the 16%. And a crit from the Thunderbolt. And this is not lucky for HClat. This is really unfortunate for him. And Crunch comes down. Is he able to get a Spadef drop? Nope. And that Milotic's just going to be able to sit on his team at this point. There's really not a whole lot that can come in and threaten it. HClat seems to have confidence in the Salamence, but, you know, what is it going to do to try and threaten the Milotic? Dragon Claw is good damage, but it's not going to do it. So I suppose HClat is just, he's fishing for crits at this point, hoping that he's able to land a crit on a turn he goes down or something. It's really difficult to say what his game plan is at this point, because this is just, you know, it's kind of how Milotic is. You got to make sure that you can break it, because if you can't, first of all, the games are going to go on forever, and second of all, you're going to lose. But this Starmie just still seems to be HClat's, you know, path to victory, and he has to either recover or try and take the initiative on the Blissey. Now Blissey comes in, it gets to either soft-boiled or it gets to throw out an attack, and HClat's just hoping for a freeze at this point. Yeah, this is disastrous for HClat. So I have to wonder if he's kind of banking on whatever that last Pokemon is. Yeah, and then he gets parried on the Salamence. This is rough. You hate to see this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to make it seem like something is not. Umbry is playing well. And, you know, I will not discount how she's playing. I don't want to make it seem as if I'm biased or anything. But to say that the RNG has not gone HClat's way in this game would really not be inaccurate. So we're just going to continue having this Milotic come in and absolutely sit on this T-Tar. And, you know, it was kind of what I was talking about earlier. The moment that Skarmory wakes up and spikes go down, things really start turning the other way. HClat started losing momentum because he couldn't bring in stuff for free anymore. And I don't know how he expects to break this Milotic, but an explosion would certainly do it. And that was a super important turn, because Milotic is down. You got to wonder what the last thing is. Starmie's going to go down, so he's down to last poke. What do we got? Wait, hold on. Okay, so last poke Caesar. I don't. It's got what? HP Bug, Steel Wing, or something? Swords Dance. I have no clue what this Caesar set could be. That he brings it as last Mon. It's not going to be able to break Skarmory. But you know what? He's banking on it. I'm excited to see what he does with it. So we got one Swords Dance. Explosion from Claydol. No leftovers. Drill Peck not going to do a ton. We have a Salac Berry raising its speed. That's cute, but okay. Is he just? I assume H-Clat's just showing off his set at this point. Oh, he's got reversal. Oh my god. Okay. That's suddenly really interesting. But it's not going to do it. It was a valiant effort. I liked what happened there at the end. Very creative set from H-Clat. Great try. And that is going to be Umbri taking their first game of SPL. So with that, that's 3 games down. We've been going for a little over an hour. So we're going to take a very brief break. See y'all back in a few minutes. And, go get a drink, have some water.
Who's that Pokemon?
All right, and welcome back. Just had those first 3 games. Pretty good, as we saw in order, McMegan, Markov, and Umbri taking the dubs. And we're going to move on to our next game here. We have Endil versus Starmaster. Starmaster, another player that was one of the first that I ever casted. Endil, making his first appearance in SPL, kind of been on a meteoric rise as far as ADV goes. Going to need to see how well that pays off, how well his skills are able to show up here, because Starmaster's been around for a while. He's a good player across a lot of different gens. And, he's one of the players that can really make a dent in this league this year. So, interested to see what Endil's able to bring, what he's able to do. Let's go straight into it. So in the lead position, we have the ever-familiar Zapdos versus T-Tar. Zapdos going to baton pass straight out into a Swampert. Already very telling about some possibilities that Endale could have in the back. However, we're going to need to see what all this Swampert is trying to do back to the T-Tar. And Starmaster really going to be forced to show a new Mon, which is going to be Beans the Celebi. Endale making an intelligent double back into his Zapdos, knowing that the T-Tar won't be staying in. It seems like Endale really has something that he wants to accomplish with this Zapdos. Going to take a Leech Seed near immediately, but it's probably just going to baton pass back out. This is going to go straight back out into something that wants to kill this Celebi. I'm going to have to see what it is. It is Endale's T-Tar, which, another thing, you have to assume that this is a Pokemon with HP Bug, but we've kind of been seeing a lack of HP Bug D-Tars tonight, so I could be super wrong. And Endale goes back into Zapdos. Does he scare out the Celebi? Celebi's going to baton pass now. We've got the battle of two baton passes. So we kind of have ourselves in a loop now. I have to imagine that Endale goes back into the Swampert here, right? Because that's his Tyranitar check. No, he's going to go back into the Celebi. Celebi's not going to really mind too much anything that the Zapdos can do to it. I'm going to shrug off that Thunderbolt like it's nothing. And I assume they both baton pass here. I haven't been checking the speed. I don't know if which one is either confirmed faster, but I have to imagine that the Zapdos would be faster, just based on how Celebi sets are usually EV'd. So Endale's going to show his Skarmory. He's honestly probably going to be able to get up a layer here. And, Tyranitar's still a special set. He can come in pretty comfortably and threaten out the Skarmory, but Starmaster decides to take his opportunity to throw out his own Skarmory. We're going to see spikes going up for both sides. It's difficult to say who cares about the spikes more without really knowing more of the team. I would say there's a non-zero chance Endale has a Dugtrio, and if he does, then having 3 layers of spikes automatically puts Celebi in the threat range. But we would need to see the game develop just a little bit more before we really are able to guess at that. So Starmaster reveals that he does have Taunt, and that's going to stop Skarmory from setting up any more spikes for Endale. 2 layers is still, it's good. But this may force Endale back into his Zapdos to force out Starmaster Skarmory and leave it at... Oh, he actually shows Gengar. So Gengar also going to force out Skarmory without too much of an issue. But I'm interested in exactly what he's hoping to accomplish with this. He can just throw out a Thunderbolt. He could, possibly threaten the Celebi when it comes back in. No, Endale's making a lot of doubles around. This is really interesting. But Starmaster shows no fear. I'm wondering if that was a misclick or something, because I feel like you should have gone Zapdos first. Am I crazy for thinking that? So Zapdos going to threaten out the Skarmory and going to have the opportunity to throw out a Thunderbolt, but he's going to opt to BP instead. Tyranitar going to come back in. And, Endale is still saying, hey, I have HP Bug. You don't want to stay in on me. But you got to wonder if he's going to pull the trigger on that. So Celebi's going to BP out. He's going to go back to Skarmory to scout for the HP Bug. But Endale's T-Tar just goes for Rock Slide. And it's worth noting that we haven't seen any leftovers on this Tyranitar's side, so it could very well, especially considering that Rock Slide did 55%, very real chance that it is a banded set. Skarmory going to reveal Hidden Power Ground, which is a well-known set. YOLO Skarms, max speed to outspeed Magneton. But it is going to go down to a second Rock Slide. So if Endale has a spinner in the back, we have this Gengar that's going to come in to stop the Starmie from spinning, I would assume. But if Endale has a spinner, then Skarmory is down for Starmaster. No more spikes going up on his side. So he's scouting to see if the Starmie is checking for the Gengar to come in first, but Starmaster went straight for the Rapid Spin. Good play on his part, and those spikes are going to be cleared for him, so now he can start swapping around pretty freely. However, the Zapdos is still on the field, and that is what's considered in the industry an unfavorable position. Celebi going to come in, not going to mind any attack that Endil clicks too much. However, he did end up clicking the BP. Does he go back into the T-Tar here? Three layers is certainly scary. He's going to elect to go Aerodactyl instead. So rather than having a spinner, his last just doesn't care about spikes. And the HP flying is going to be pretty threatening. Starmaster is going to reveal Metagross, which isn't going to care too much about an HP flying, but Endil goes for it. And he manages to land the Earthquake. Going to do big damage to the Metagross, and is going to threaten to KO the Metagross. It's a little bit of a sketchy roll, 54, 52, but it's, Starmaster definitely doesn't want to stand if he can help it. So Endil's trying to take this opportunity to get his spikes back up. However, smart play from Starmaster brings in the Starmie and, immediately checking the Skarmory. Not much that Skarmory can really do now. We haven't really seen anything other than Rapid Spin, but you know that it's going to be threatening the Skarmory in some sense. Does have Thunder Wave, so it is going to be a defensive set. And the question becomes, where do you really want to go here? Now, the presence of Thunder Wave kind of says that you should swap to Swampert, but Endil's just going to opt to take the Paralysis, and he's going to opt to try and get up his layers. Oh, he actually goes for Toxic instead. Smart play by his part. And now, if he thinks that the Starmie can't really threaten him super hard, then that damage is going to start racking up while he tries to get up his layers. Tyranitar going to come in. And how does Endil want to approach this? He's going to get full paired. We're never going to know what he went for. Got to assume it's spikes because there's literally everything we see revealed from Starmaster does not want to take spikes. So him getting those up would be huge. But he's not able to do it. He fears the Fire Blast. Zapdos not going to take too much from it. And, I guess we're just going to keep Baton passing out. So Zapdos goes out, and we are going to see the T-Tar get, I would assume it's getting sacked. Crunch comes out for Starmaster's T-Tar, takes down Endil's T-Tar. Current score 5-5 on all sides. But this is an opportunity for Arrow to come back in. No, actually. Endil's opt to continue playing with this Zapdos, but you gotta, at some point, you gotta bring in something that threatens it out. But that apparently worked fine. Zapdos threatens out the Tyranitar. Celebi comes in. Not going to mind the Thunderbolt too much. And they both have the option to, Celebi gets the Leech Seed up. Zapdos can Baton Pass out now if it wants to. And Endil going to take his opportunity to once again try and get some spikes up. This may be his chance. One layer would be huge. That's all he needs. Doesn't need to go for the full 3, just 1. The issue is Celebi can keep going out to Starmie, and Starmie is always going to threaten Skarmory. You get 1 layer up, and then what? You swap out, eat a Rapid Spin. You go Gengar, but you still have the threat of coming in on a Hydro Pump or something. It's an awkward, uncomfortable position to be in for Endil. But, it's a necessary one. So how does he want to approach this? He's going to go out to Zapdos, which won't mind any attack that Starmaster throws out too much, but Starmaster just decides to keep those spikes off, go for the Rapid Spin, because he still has grounded Pokemon that he wants to come in, damn it. So Celebi comes back out for Starmaster, and the Baton Pass comes out for Endil. And he goes back out to Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl immediately threatening the Celebi with the Choice Banded HP flying, I would assume. But last time he came out, we saw him go for the Earthquake instead, um, expecting the Metagross. Not expecting Metagross, expecting the Tyranitar. But now Starmaster is going to reveal his own Aerodactyl. And honestly, if you ask me, this Aerodactyl for Starmaster looks a lot more threatening than the Aerodactyl for Endel. Because Rock Slide is an immediate issue. And we haven't seen this Swampert since like turn 2. It's going to be able to take the Rock Slide, but it's also going to take Spikes. So it's just kind of an immediate awkward situation for Endel. 17 damage is not bad. You've got the Swampert down at 50% now. And, at this point, you probably just go back out to Celebi and start this whole cycle over again. So how does Endel want to approach this? He's still not using his Swampert much, which is reasonable. I can appreciate the way that he plays with this initiative, trying to keep things on a front foot. But, he is slowly getting worn down by these 3 spikes. And he's not able to get his own up. Celebi throws out a Leech Seed, and it is going to go up to around 80%, 85%. And it's ever so slowly getting its health back. And it's just not going to be able to, keep BPs out into Starmie now. So Endel goes for the hard switch into Aerodactyl. Celebi goes for the extremely safe Baton Pass. And he can really go to whoever he wants. He elects to go for Starmie. And Starmaster seems to be in a pretty commanding position now. I don't want to say that this is checkmate or anything, but that BP Celebi is really putting in the work. It's strangling out Endel. It's really what's happening. And you get these little attacks. You get 20% here, 17% there, and he's going to be able to slowly wear down the different Pokemon. Now, granted, these spikes are not a huge issue due to the fact that Swampert's the only thing that really takes a hit from it. But that Swampert has a job, man. It's got to take Meteor Mashes, and it's got to take Fire Blast, and it's got to take Rock Slides. And I don't know if he's just trying to get a spike up as a Hail Mary attempt. No, he's still going back into Zapdos. Is this going to take the crunch now? Yeah, this is not a favorable position for Endo. I don't know exactly what he should have. Maybe he should have attacked what was in front of him more often than what he thought was going to happen. But it's not as if I've seen any, massive, crazy misplays that cost him the game. It's just, this tier's kind of a game of inches, and Starmaster's been creeping forward here. So with Zapdos going down, that's really all of Endel's initiative gone. Tyranitar is within range of the Choice Banded Earthquake, but you get threatened now by the Aerodactyl if you click Earthquake. So now this Aerodactyl is locked in. Starmaster gets to bring in his in and start clicking Rock Slide, and Rock Slide should honestly sweep here. Gengar can take one probably, but nothing really wants to take a Rock Slide too badly. Swampert's going to go down to what? Yeah, he can't take 2. Okay, he might take 2. It's a little bit of a sketchy roll, but you got to imagine the Aerodactyl is going to be just sweeping through at this point. Every time he comes in, he's going to claim a kill. So Starmaster deciding that he doesn't really want to risk it. And Endel making a good play there, managing to hit the Earthquake, knowing that, Starmaster probably wasn't going to leave that Aerodactyl in. And this Swampert's slowly getting its HP back, but it can't stay in for very long. In fact, it can't stay in at all. Going to eat an immediate Surf from Starmie and go down. And, this is looking real bad for Endel. He doesn't really have a whole lot that can threaten the Starmie. Granted, 49% is an important spot to be at, because he is now threatened by things like Endel's Aerodactyl We don't really know anything about this Gengar. That's very telling that there were multiple Pokemon we don't really know much about. So this is a Thunderbolt. It is going to drop the Starmie. And I don't know. Aerodactyl still comes in, and he still clicks Rock Slide. Is it going to come down to a speed tie, I guess? It's really not a favorable position for Endel. This game is pretty much locked up. It's over, but stranger things could happen than this, I guess. Rock Slide could still miss, you know. But it certainly feels like they're just going through the motions. His Endel protects. He's just trying to see if he can get a Rock Slide miss, maybe get something to happen. I couldn't tell you exactly what move he wants. I don't want to say that spikes are the right move here. It's a little too late for that. And Skarmory is going to go down. And then at this point, I guess your best move would be go Gengar and hope for a miss. But Endel is going to opt for the speed tie instead, which is a perfectly respectable play. So Celebi's going to come in from Starmaster. And Endel's going to double out to Gengar. We don't really know this Gengar's set, so I'm not sure what his goal is. What he thinks he can threaten with. He's going to miss a Hypnosis immediately. And get Leech Seeded for his hubris. And, yeah. You thought it was a nail in the coffin before, but that Hypnosis misses. And more importantly, the Leech Seed landing, as this Gengar's health drops ever lower. And a second Hypnosis miss. That's that 60% accuracy for you. And yeah, at this point, a Rock Slide Connect takes down Gengar, and then Aerodactyl can't lock itself into anything that would take out both Metagross and Aerodactyl. And yeah, that's game over. For what it's worth, well played to Starmaster. I thought Endel had some really good maneuvers on the front end of the game to try and keep things in his favor. But, Starmaster kind of played the long game, and the spikes that he had did a lot of work, really helped wear down that Swampert. And, that's going to be game 4 going to Starmaster. He's going to join the 1-0 crew this SPL. And, well played game by him. Thought it would, I liked some of the plays that Endel was making earlier. I thought he did some great stuff to try and take the initiative. However, at a certain point, he was just swapping around, and he kind of needed to start clicking buttons a little bit. Anyway, we're going to go into our final match here. Wanted to make sure that we didn't have my face up on stream. So we've got last match of the night. We have the Linear Curve versus Golden Sun. Golden Sun, a veteran player, has been around for a while. Pretty good player. I don't know a ton about him, but I've only ever heard good things. But he's got kind of a wall in front of him. The Linear Curve is pretty unanimously considered to be the best ADV player in the game right now. And he went for 34,000 in the auction, which is absurd. 2,000 less than the guy who went for the most. So we're going to go into this last game. And let's see what these two players have brought for us. Linear, a player who really likes his fighting types, really likes Hariyama, really likes Metacham. Very creative team builder. So this could be a very interesting game. So starting with Zapdos versus Skarmory. Well, these don't look interesting. Kidding, of course, but Linear is immediately going to get forced out by the threat of Thunderbolt, which certainly puts Golden Sun in a friendly position. He's going to baton pass out and reveal a Swampert. Very standard-looking teams for both of these players so far. And Swampert is going to continue threatening out Zapdos. And we this is really a replay of the Endale game. Just swapping back and forth with the Baton Pass Zapdos. However, Jirachi revealed from Linear, and both players are kind of threatened by each other. Linear decides to play it safe, go to his Swampert. Going to get immediately paralyzed. Swampert not going to care so much about the paralysis as a Zapdos would have. And we are going to see a Hidden Power Grass coming out of the Jirachi. Interesting choice. I mean, not interesting in the context of having a Swampert, but Zapdos is going to try and threaten that Jirachi, but Jirachi immediately going to land a Body Slam, land a Para, and, both Pokemon revealed for Golden Sun are paralyzed now. Going to see a Flygon come out from Linear Curve. Flygon, really cool Pokemon. Spikes immune, Earthquake immune, Rock resist, which makes it a great T-Tar check. Great, man, there was something else I saw today that they said Flygon is a fantastic check for. I mean, obviously it checks a lot of stuff. Tyranitar comes back in, and we see both players bringing a Jirachi. Both players that's interesting. We've really been seeing this trend of, seeing similar threats from both sides. Which really, it's a pretty diverse metagame, so I'm shocked that we see some stuff like that holding true to both sides. Swampert going to do its damnedest to get a bit of HP back. Not going to mind an attack from the Tyranitar too much, but Earthquake coming out with the Celebi. So what is the goal of this Celebi? Is it just more Baton Pass shenanigans? Because just off of those two paralysis alone, Linear is very clearly in a big position. The lack of baton passing shenanigans that can be just clicked without threat is really going to do a lot. So we have Hidden Power Fire coming out of the Celebi. Meanwhile, a Drill Peck coming out from Skarmory immediately going to threaten this Celebi, and not in a good way. However, you got to hope that Linear wants to get up spikes at one point. He's going to keep threatening the Celebi, and he's going to get a critical hit, which, first of all, is going to be the first Pokemon down for Golden Sun, and second of all, is this maybe an opportunity for a spike to go up? Does this have spikes at all? Yes, it does. Going to go down from the Hydro Pump, but the damage is done. Celebi's gone down from the Skarmory. One spike has gone down. Jirachi's going to be able to come back in. It has Hidden Power Grass. It's able to threaten this Swampert out. Protect does a body good, but that Hidden Power is going to take the Swampert out no matter what happens. So the question becomes, do you want to go back to Zapdos, which isn't going to mind the Celebi too much? You do. We haven't really seen any other attacks from this Jirachi, but unless it has Ice Punch, it's not really going to be threatening the Zapdos particularly hard. That being said, Zapdos is still getting kind of low. It is going to Wish. Meanwhile, Golden Sun Zapdos gets full parried. And it's just not a friendly situation for Golden Sun. He's going to reveal a T-Tar, which is immediately going to get body slammed, and it's not going to take the pair out, which is pretty important. However, Jirachi does have an opportunity to throw out one more body slam. So the double from Golden Sun comes out to try and bring the Jirachi in on the Flygon. Both of these Pokemon speed tie, assuming that they're fast, but Jirachi is confirmed to have Ice Punch, which is really going to take down that Flygon. Meanwhile, Jirachi has a pretty decent chance of living an Earthquake. So Linear is going to get out of the way. Jirachi is going to throw out the aforementioned Ice Punch, not find too much damage on the Tyranitar. And if he has any other moves that can threaten this thing, he kind of wants to do it now. He's going to elect to go back to Swampert. That Earthquake is going to kill. And, Doug Trio is going to be a small victory on Golden Sun's part. He's going to take out the Tyranitar, I'd imagine. Oh, no. This is the roll I was talking about earlier. It gets a little crunchy once you're around the 80% mark. And Tyranitar is going to get an extra kill. I thought he was done there, but he's going to manage to snipe the Doug Trio as well, 11%. He is going to go down to the Ice Punch this turn. But you really need to expect a bunch of things to start going Golden Sun's way for him to be able to pull this game back. You still have one Pokemon unrevealed for Linear. I have no idea what it could be. Will-O-Wisp going to whiff on the already paralyzed Zapdos. And there's an Ice Punch coming out. Drill Peck going to do a fairly decent amount. I assume he was trying to account for the possibility of Flygon coming in, just making sure he's using an attack that can land. But Zapdos is now going to go down for the match, and it's just down to 2 Pokemon on Golden Sun's part. We don't know anything about this T-Tar. I guess there's a chance it could be Pursuit, but Linear Curve is just going to elect to click Explosion, and we'll never know what set that T-Tar was. Because Flygon's going to come in now, it's going to click Earthquake, and it's probably going to close out this game. You're going to see Linear taking his first game. I mean, granted, Jirachi should live 1 Earthquake. Oh, it actually outspeeds the Flygon, and Flygon lives it too. But still, we have the other Jirachi that's going to threaten out. And the last mon is actually Starmie for Linear. Without knowing really too much about what kind of set it is, it certainly doesn't mind taking hits from the Jirachi, as it can just keep coming in and out with Natural Cure, as long as it doesn't get crit or anything. So Linear's going to close out the game, and you're going to see him going to 1-0. And I guess with that, we have our 5 games done for the night. You have your 5 winners. McMegan winning over Cyber Odin. You have Markup winning over Fakes. You have Umbri winning over H-Clat. Starmaster winning over Endil. And finally, you have the Linear Curve winning over Golden Sun. So, I guess that's going to close it out for us tonight. You can catch us next week when we, have the next set of games. Hope you liked the new style that we made. I liked to try and open up the battle window, make it a little more spectatable. I'm going to keep tweaking that, going to try and make it still a little better. But in the meantime, be sure to follow us on Twitch. Be sure to follow us on Twitter so you can see when we're going live, when we're going to have the next info up. Be sure to go follow these players. If you go to the Smogon website, you can follow the tournament itself. You can see these matches before I do, because I don't watch them until the Sunday that we're covering them. And, with that, I guess we're going to call it for the night. So everybody give a big thank you to my cameraman Antlers, and y'all have a good night.